Welcome back to Lee and Chioma's story. If you thought their story ended with that rain kiss in Busan, you were wrong. I've got a special bonus episode for you, and trust me, you're going to love where Chioma and Lee are now. 1 year after he found her in that rainstorm and confessed his love, 1 year after they chose each other without a contract or a baby between them, their lives have transformed completely. If you enjoyed the main series and you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button right now because this bonus episode is going to give you all the closure and happy endings you've been waiting for. Let's jump in. 1 year had passed since that rainstorm in Busan changed everything. The penthouse that had once felt like a gilded cage now felt like home, not because Lee owned it, but because Chioma had chosen to be there. They'd moved her things in properly this time, her Nigerian artwork on the walls, her books filling the shelves, her presence in every room not as a temporary guest, but as someone who belonged. On a quiet Sunday morning, Chioma woke to find Lee already awake, watching her with that soft expression he only wore when he thought she was sleeping. "You're staring again," she murmured, smiling without opening her eyes. "Can't help it," he replied, brushing a braid back from her face. "Still can't believe you're real sometimes. That you stayed." She opened her eyes then, meeting his gaze. Where else would I be? It was a simple exchange, but it held the weight of everything they'd survived. The loss, the pain, the running, the finding. They'd built something real from the ashes of a contract, and every morning they woke up choosing each other felt like a small miracle. But there was something they hadn't done yet, something that weighed on both their minds, even if they didn't always say it out loud. Her family. In Lagos, thousands of miles away, her parents only knew the basics. That their daughter was in Korea, that she was in love with a man they'd never met, that their relationship had started in the most unconventional way possible. It was time to change that. "I want to meet them," Lee said one evening over dinner. "Your parents." "Properly. The way it should be done." Chioma looked up, surprise and something like fear crossing her face. "You want to fly to Lagos? To meet my father? Do you understand what you're asking for?" He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I'm asking to do this right. To honor your culture and your family. I'm asking for permission to marry you the way an Igbo man would ask, with respect and tradition. Will you let me?" Tears filled her eyes, the good kind this time. "Yes. Yes, let's go home." 2 weeks later, they landed in Lagos. The heat hit them the moment they stepped off the plane, thick and heavy and completely different from Seoul's climate. Lee, in his expensive suit, looked slightly overwhelmed as they navigated through Murtala Muhammad International Airport, but he held Chioma's hand tightly, determined. The drive to her family home in Surulere was chaos. Lagos traffic was legendary, and Lee watched with wide eyes as their driver navigated between cars, motorcycles, and pedestrians with an ease that seemed impossible. "This is normal," Chioma laughed, seeing his expression. "Welcome to Lagos." Her family home was modest but warm, a 2-story building painted in bright colors with a small garden her mother tended religiously. The moment they pulled up, Chioma's mother rushed out, pulling her daughter into a fierce embrace while eyeing Lee with obvious curiosity. "Mama, this is Lee," Chioma said in English, then switched to Igbo to add context her mother would understand. Her mother smiled warmly, taking Lee's hands in hers. "Welcome to our home. Any man who loves my daughter is welcome here. But," she added with a knowing look, "you'll have to convince her father of that." Inside, Chioma's father sat in his favorite chair, a retired army colonel who still carried himself with military precision. He looked Lee up and down with an expression that could freeze fire. "So you're the Korean man who thinks he's worthy of my daughter." Lee, to his credit, didn't flinch. "Sir, I don't think I'm worthy of her. I know I'm not. But I love her more than anything in this world, and I'm here to ask for the honor of proving that to you and to her for the rest of my life." The room went silent. Chioma held her breath. Her father's expression didn't change for a long moment, and then, almost imperceptibly, one corner of his mouth lifted. "At least you're honest. Sit down. Let's talk." What followed was the most intense conversation of Lee's life. Her father asked everything. about his business, his intentions, his past, his plans for the future. He asked about the pregnancy and the loss, about how Park Lee had treated his daughter during the hardest moments of her life. He asked about culture and religion, and whether Park Lee understood what it meant to marry an Igbo woman. Through it all, Park Lee answered honestly. He didn't try to hide his past or pretend to be someone he wasn't. He spoke about how Chioma had changed him, made him want to be better, taught him what real love looked like. He spoke about respect and commitment and his willingness to learn and honor her culture. Her father listened, asked more questions, and finally stood up.
Come with me.
They went to the backyard where her father kept a small shrine to the ancestors. This is how we do things, her father explained. In Igbo culture, marriage is not just between two people. It's between families, between ancestors. If you want my daughter's hand, you must respect this. I do, Park Lee said simply. Teach me what I need to know. Over the next week, Park Lee was given a crash course in Igbo traditions. He met with elders, learned the proper protocols for asking for a bride, participated in ceremonies that felt completely foreign but that he approached with genuine respect and humility. Chioma watched, falling in love with him all over again as this powerful Korean man humbled himself before her culture. The formal engagement ceremony, the Igbenkwo, was held on a Saturday. Park Lee wore traditional Igbo attire, the Iziaga shirt and wrapper that Chioma's uncles had helped him put on properly. He looked both completely out of place and somehow perfect as he knelt before her father and the assembled elders. I come before you to ask for the hand of your daughter, Chioma Peters, he said, the Igbo phrases he'd practiced carefully rolling off his tongue with only a slight accent. I promise to honor her, protect her, respect her culture and family, and love her with everything I have for as long as I live. Her father, playing his role in the ceremony, pretended to consider. And what do you bring to prove you're worthy? Park Lee's people presented the bride price, traditional items and gifts that had been carefully selected with Chioma's mother's guidance. Coconuts, palm wine, yams, fabric, and money presented in the traditional way. The ceremony continued with its ancient rhythms, beautiful and meaningful in ways that made Chioma cry happy tears. When her father finally accepted the bride price and declared Park Lee worthy, when the families shared palm wine and blessed the union, it felt more real than any contract ever had. The traditional wedding followed 3 months later, a spectacular celebration that took over an entire events hall in Lagos. Chioma wore the traditional bridal attire, layers of coral beads, the elaborate headpiece, the wrapper and blouse in vibrant colors that made her glow. Park Lee wore his Iziagu again, looking every bit the Igbo groom despite his Korean features. The ceremony was full of music and dancing, prayers and blessings, tradition and joy. When it came time for their vows, they stood before everyone who mattered and spoke from the heart. Chioma went first, her voice strong. I choose you, Park Lee. Not because I have to, not because of a contract or an arrangement, but because you're the person I want to build a life with. I choose you today, and I'll choose you again tomorrow, and every day after that. His turn, and his voice was thick with emotion. You saved me, Chioma. You made me human again. You showed me what real love looks like, even when I didn't deserve it. I choose you today, with all your family and ancestors as witnesses. I'll choose you every single day for the rest of my life. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. They spent their honeymoon in Lagos, then returned to Seoul to settle back into their life together. Everything felt different now, marked by public commitment and family blessing. The penthouse felt even more like theirs, plans for the future becoming more concrete. Then, 2 months after the wedding, Chioma woke up feeling nauseous. At first she blamed it on something she'd eaten, but when the nausea continued for 3 days, a terrifying thought crossed her mind. She bought a pregnancy test on her way home from work, her hands shaking the entire time. In the penthouse bathroom, she waited for the results with her heart pounding so hard she could hear it. When the 2 lines appeared, clear and unmistakable, she nearly dropped the test. Park Lee found her sitting on the bathroom floor 10 minutes later, staring at the positive test with an expression he couldn't read. The moment he saw what she was holding, he went pale. Chioma, he said softly, kneeling beside her.
Talk to me.
I'm pregnant, she whispered, and her voice cracked. I'm pregnant again, and I'm terrified. The fear was immediate and overwhelming. Memories of the last pregnancy, the blood, the loss, the devastating grief, it all came rushing back. She started hyperventilating, panic attack taking over, and he pulled her into his arms. Breathe with me, he said, his own voice shaking. We're going to be okay. Listen to me, Chioma. Whatever happens, we face it together. But what if I lose it again?
She sobbed.
What if my body can't do this? What if? Then we'll survive that too. He cut her off gently. But we're not there yet. Right now, right here, you're pregnant, and we're going to take every precaution. The best doctors, constant monitoring, anything you need. I'm not leaving your side. They called the doctor that evening. Scheduled an appointment for the next day. Started making plans for how to handle this pregnancy differently, more carefully, with more support. Park Lee took time off work to go to every appointment. They found a therapist who specialized in pregnancy after loss. They took it one day at a time. The first trimester was terrifying. Every twinge, every symptom, every moment sent Chioma into spirals of fear. But Park Lee was there for all of it, steady and present, reminding her to breathe, holding her hand through every ultrasound, celebrating each milestone. When they heard the heartbeat for the first time, strong and steady, they both cried. The second trimester brought cautious hope. The baby was growing well. All the tests came back normal, and slowly, carefully, Chioma started to believe this might actually happen. The third trimester was uncomfortable but beautiful. Park Lee talked to her belly every night, telling their daughter they'd learned it was a girl, about all the things he wanted to show her. Chioma planned the nursery with his mother, who was overjoyed at the prospect of a grandchild. And then, on a Tuesday morning 8 months after their Lagos wedding, Chioma went into labor. The delivery was long and difficult, but Park Lee never left her side. He held her hand through every contraction, breathed with her, told her how strong she was, how proud he was, how much he loved her. And when their daughter finally arrived, healthy and screaming and absolutely perfect, they both wept with relief and joy. Park Lee held his daughter for the first time with shaking hands, looking at her tiny face with such wonder and love that Chioma fell in love with him all over again. She's perfect, he whispered. You did this. You brought her here. We did this, Chioma corrected, exhausted but glowing. Together. They named her Ada, an Igbo name meaning first daughter, with a Korean middle name to honor both cultures. She had her mother's eyes and her father's nose, and from the moment she entered the world, she was deeply, fiercely loved. 6 months later, on a quiet evening in their Seoul home, Park Lee sat with Ada sleeping on his chest while Chioma curled beside them. He looked at his family, this beautiful, impossible family they'd built from chaos and loss and love, and felt more grateful than he'd ever thought possible. Remember when you crashed into me with that coffee? He said softly, smiling at the memory. Chioma laughed quietly. Best collision of my life. Even if you were completely insufferable. Still am, he admitted. But now you're stuck with me. She reached over, taking his free hand. I choose to be stuck with you. Today and every day. And that really was what it all came down to. Through tragedy and joy, loss and gain, fear and hope, they kept choosing each other. Every single day. It was more than enough. It was everything. So that's where we leave them. Not in chaos or drama, but in peace, in a home filled with love. Park Lee, Chioma, and baby Ada, a family that started with spilled coffee and a contract, and became something real and beautiful. Thank you for going on this journey with them, through all episodes. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who loves a good romance. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment from the entire series. And hit the subscribe button for more stories. Remember to rate the story for me on a scale of 10. I'll see you guys in my next story.